Cry the Beloved Country is a classic South African novel that was written by Paton in 1948. The novel is heralded for its dynamic and objective take on the apartheid system in South Africa. The book explores themes such as systematic racism, crime, corruption, murder, forgiveness, love, family, fatherhood, reconciliation, tragedy, amongst many other strong themes. Reverend Stephen Khumalo's life is disrupted when he receives a letter from Johannesburg about his ailing sister Gertrude. He decides to embark on a journey to the city to bring her back home, sacrificing the money he had set aside for his son Absalom's education. Stefan also sees this as an opportunity to search for Absalom, who had left their village without a word, leaving his family worried and uncertain. As Stephen arrives in Johannesburg, he is struck by the city's vastness and complexity. Feeling lost and alone, he seeks out the help of fellow clergy members, including Smangu. With their guidance, Stephen is able to locate his sister Gertrude, who is relieved to see him. After some persuasion, Gertrude agrees to return to Ndocheni with Stephen, bringing a sense of relief to her brother. Stephen's search for Absalom leads him to his brother John, who has become embroiled in the city's corrupt underbelly. Despite John's questionable character, he provides Stephen with valuable information about Absalom's location. Stephen's investigation reveals that Absalom's girlfriend is expecting his child, and he has been absent for several days, leaving Stephen increasingly worried about his son's well-being. Stephen's anxiety grows as he discovers that the police are searching for Absalom in connection with a serious crime, the murder of Arthur Jarvis, a white man. Stephen is alarmed by this news, realizing that he has inadvertently been retracing the police's steps in his search for Absalom. This revelation raises the stakes and creates a sense of urgency in Stephen's quest to find his son. The police finally apprehend Absalom and charge him with the murder of Arthur Jarvis. Stephen is devastated by this turn of events and visits his son in jail, hoping to understand what happened. However, Absalom is tight-lipped and refuses to provide any information about his involvement in the crime, leaving Stephen feeling frustrated and helpless. In the midst of this crisis, Father Vincent offers Stephen guidance and comfort, urging him to find solace in prayer and rest. The following day, Stephen visits Absalom's girlfriend, who is struggling to come to terms with the situation. Stephen shows compassion and kindness, offering to take her back to Ndocheni with him when he eventually leaves Johannesburg, providing her with a sense of security and hope. Father Vincent helps Stephen find a lawyer, Mr. Carmichael, who is willing to take on Absalom's case without charge. This provides Stephen with a sense of hope and relief. Meanwhile, James Jarvis and his wife receive news of their son's murder and travel to Johannesburg. James Jarvis is struggling to come with terms to the loss of his son, and his grief is compounded by the fact that he never really knew Arthur. He was rather estranged from his son. As he sorts through his son's belongings, James discovers Arthur's handwriting and is struck by his son's compassion for justice and equality. This newfound understanding of his son's life and work brings James a sense of pride and sorrow. The trial begins and Absalom's defense is led by Mr. Carmichael. The prosecution presents its case, and Absalom's accomplices testify against him. Absalom admits to being present at the scene of the crime but denies planning to kill Arthur. The trial's outcome is far from certain, leaving Stephen and James anxiously waiting for the verdict. The trial concludes, and Absalom is found guilty of murder. He is sentenced to death while his accomplices are acquitted. The verdict is a devastating blow to Stephen, who is forced to confront the reality of his son's fate. Meanwhile, James is left to grapple with the consequences of the trial and the loss of his son. As the day of Absalom's execution approaches, Stephen is filled with a sense of despair and hopelessness. He visits James, who is struggling to come to terms with the loss of his son, and the impending execution of Absalom. Despite the tragedy that has befallen their families, Stephen and James find a sense of comfort and solidarity in each other's company. In the aftermath of Absalom's execution, Stephen returns to Ndocheni, where he is met with a mixture of sadness and support from his community. James, meanwhile, begins to rebuild his life and find a new sense of purpose. He starts to work on a project to improve the lives of the people in Ndocheni, including building a new church and providing aid to those in need. As the story comes to a close, Stephen and James are shown to be on a path towards healing and redemption. Despite the tragedy that has befallen their families, they are able to find a sense of hope and renewal in their shared experiences and their commitment to making a positive difference in the world.
Cry the Beloved Country highlights the devastating effects of racial injustice, inequality, and cultural destruction, and urges readers to work towards social reform and justice by revolving around the real-life systematic racism of apartheid in the 20th century. The concept is similar to Tupac's Brenda Gutter Baby, by showing how a vicious cycle is made and sustained that affects both races, black and white. Even though the system is meant to only benefit one race and oppress the other, the effects of this inequality are felt on both sides, eventually like they did with Stephen and James, Absalom and Arthur. The dangers of racism and apartheid, and the need for racial harmony and equality. The pain and suffering caused by cultural annihilation and the importance of preserving cultural heritage. The negative effects of urbanization on African rural communities and traditional ways of life. The importance of family, community, and faith in the face of adversity, as especially Stephen's family lean on each other in this very difficult time of Absalom's trial and eventual execution. Just in the way African way of life upholds communal relations, Absalom's guilt is complex and nuanced. On one hand, he did participate in a robbery that resulted in the death of a white man, Arthur Jarvis. On the other hand, Absalom's actions were driven by desperation and a sense of hopelessness that he felt, trapped by poverty and a lack of opportunity in urban areas. From a legal standpoint, Absalom is guilty of the crime he committed. However, from a moral standpoint, the novel suggests that Absalom's guilt is mitigated by the social and economic factors that drove him to commit the crime in the first place. Ultimately, the novel presents Absalom as a tragic figure who is both a victim and a perpetrator. It gives him a much more complex and nuanced portrayal that is beyond him just being another blackface, a blackface criminal who killed yet another innocent white man. Another shining theme is the theme of healing. The novel definitely has a strong emphasis on healing and forgiveness, both on a personal and societal level. Here are a few ways in which healing is portrayed in the story. They do say tragedy has a way of bringing people together. Well, the character of James Jarvis undergoes a personal transformation as he learns to forgive his son's killer and find hope in the midst of all this tragedy. He realizes the importance of family and fatherhood through the experience. Though it was a very harsh lesson, he turns over a new leaf and understands that what it means to have human connection regardless of race. The relationship between Stephen Khumalo and James Jarvis, the father of the man Absalom killed, evolves from that of anger and hatred to one of understanding and compassion. The characters work together to rebuild and improve their community despite their different races, highlighting the importance of collective issues. The novel suggests that healing can come through a combination of faith, love, and social justice, and that true reconciliation requires an inequality and injustice. Cry the Beloved Country offers a message of hope and healing in the face of great adversity, emphasizing the power of love, forgiveness, collective action in overcoming social divisions and creating a more just and equitable society that is similar to paradise on earth.
If you want to see more doodle summaries of classic African books like this, please let us know any books we can do by sharing your comments and ideas below. For more enlightening material about African literature, old and new for your college studies. So if you loved watching Mem See Africa and want to see more, please do not hesitate to press like and subscribe. So until we meet next time, thanks for watching Mem See Doodle Summaries. Thank you.